Radiance Films once again brings to my eyes and brain films that I've never heard of from the past from around the world with this new set, Hard-Boiled, 3 pulp thrillers by ALAIN CORNEAU. This is a trio, as the word 3 might have indicated to you, of French crime thrillers from the 70s and 80s. I love a good crime thriller. I love it. You put the word hard-boiled in there, it gets me a little bit more interested. Not if it's eggs, but if it's, you know, a story of some sort. And this is a region A and B Blu-ray, so it'll work in North America and it'll work in the UK where Radiance is based. The transfers, I'll say up front, all look fabulous. They don't look like old movies. As I like to say, they look like they could have been shot yesterday. They don't look like old movies, except for the fact that hairstyles, clothes, cars, visuals, music, and all that look like they're from, 40 years ago. So I'm going to go one by one through these, give you my thoughts, tell you what you get for extras, and then show you the packaging, which is really cool. And it's a really nice set, and I love that Radiance does this. This is the kind of thing that an American company might not take a chance on because how commercial are movies that most people in this country have never heard of before. A lot of times these Radiance releases are like worldwide Blu-ray debuts or American Blu-ray or American video debuts. I'd never heard of any of these, so it was really cool to just go in blind and figure out, what is this world of Alain Corneau and these French hard-boiled thrillers. So first up, we're going to go chronologically on this. We get Police Python 357, which sounds a lot like an Italian crime film, which got my attention from 1976. It is 126 minutes. That's the thing about French films. French films tend to be very slow, from my experience. I have a physical routine that I do for friends where I can't really do it here because I can't stand up. But an American film is like this. A British film is like this. A French film is like this. You get the idea. So typically, and not everyone, there's some that are unbelievably great that I love, but just oftentimes I find French films and Japanese films to be kind of slow. So this is 126 minutes, which did not surprise me. I'm not going to tell you the director because I've already told you the name of the director a bunch of times. This stars, as does another film in the set, Yves Montand, Simone Signoret, and Stefania Sandrelli. It is based on the book The Big Clock. And that is the thing about these that I didn't realize until I was looking at the extras. Sometimes it will say in the opening credits, but at least 2 of these were based on American noir novels, crime novels. So it's interesting. And The Big Clock is a film that was filmed at least once in this country, adapted in different ways. So you might not know that watching this, that it's The Big Clock, unless you're a big fan of The Big Clock. So basically, Montand, I think, Yves Montand. That's what I was trying to say. I've got notes over here in autocorrect, always making me look dumber than I am. Yves Montand he's a hot-handed super cop. He's quick with a pistol. He's a pistol-packing policier. He's got guns up the wazoo, and he falls for a young photographer who happens to be the side piece of his boss. Something eventually happens where she winds up dead, and Montand inadvertently visits her apartment shortly after she's murdered, doesn't know she's been murdered. Sorry to give that away, but it really is what the movie's about. Doesn't know that she's been murdered and realizes, oh my God, I'm like the prime suspect and my fingerprints are all over this joint. So it is the person who did the murder is trying to make sure he doesn't get found out who he is. I'm not going to say who it is. The Montand, who happened to be near the murder and was secretly having an affair with this woman, doesn't want anybody to know that he was involved with her or that he was there because everybody will just assume that it's him. And all the while, Montand is trying to find the real criminal while the real criminal is trying to keep anybody from finding out who he is. It is a very complex and twisty story and is pretty darn fantastic. It's just like deliciously complex. I really enjoyed this film. There's a couple of good action moments. It's not very action oriented, unfortunately. There's a bit up front and a bit at the end. I felt like it was maybe a little bit longer than it needed to be, but that is the way of oftentimes French cinema. So very cool film. I don't want to tell you any more about it than that, and it's got that good 70s look too. If you're like me, fan of the 70s, fan of like Euro 70s with the ugly European cars that at least one of these films, I don't know if it was this one, has Remy Julien. If you know Remy Julien, you know what I'm talking about. Remy Julien was the go-to person in Europe and beyond for car stunts in the 70s up until the early 90s, and his name appeared in the opening credits of one of these films, and I was just like, I'm excited. There's going to be some cool car action. Special features on this release of this film is an audio commentary by the Projection Booth's Mike White. He's great. If you haven't listened to the Projection Booth, it's an outstanding podcast, and he's very good at what he does. As with this commentary, you get writer and publisher Maxim Jakubowski discussing Corneau and his association with crime fiction. This is sort of paraphrasing what it says on the Blu-ray menu, examining in particular the famous SERIE Noir imprint, which was a series of books in the UK, much like you had the Giallo book, which are a bunch of books, which I almost think I have one near me somewhere here, a bunch of books in Italy that were the crime thrillers, the horror, not horror, more like crime thrillers of their era that spawned the genre of film known as Giallo. The SERIE Noir spawned their own sort of genre of film in France, which brought hard-boiled fiction to France, as I said. That is 15 minutes long and very good. Archival interview with ALAIN CORNEAU and François Périer discussing the making of the film on set, and it's 6 minutes. And here's the beginning of me saying this about 2 out of the 3 of these discs. It says interviews on set. It's not on set. It's an interview that to me looked like it was done at Cannes, because you see this huge revolving, it's done at like an outdoor cafe, and you see this huge revolving billboard in the back that advertises all these big upcoming movies. That's not the set of this film. Pedantic, but the next film, SERIE Noir, the aforementioned, from 1979. It is 116 minutes, and I'm sorry, the one that was done at Cannes is the one for this movie. This film was shot, the archival interview with Corneau and Périer discussing the film on the set of Police Python 357. It's clearly done in an office somewhere after the film was done, because there's a poster for the movie behind Corneau as he talks. And unless the film had a finished poster and advertising campaign while they were shooting it, which some do, it's likely that this was not done on set. It was done shortly after the film was released to promote it. So the next film, separate, and these are all on separate discs, by the way, so maximum bit rate, maximum quality, and again, the transfers look fabulous. SERIE Noir from 1979, it is 116 minutes, stars Patrick Dewaere, Myriam Boyer, and Marie Trintignant, and it is based on A Hell of a Woman by Jim Thompson. So this is one of the earlier, before there was this wave of Jim Thompson adaptations like in the 90s and beyond in this country. This is a 1979 French adaptation. The story is, this one was a little odd. So the basic story goes a little something like this. Not going to tell you the whole story. There's a guy's a traveling salesman. He comes upon a house with this old lady in it, and he's trying to sell her whatever he can get her to sell. And she asks if he sees that there's a young, beautiful girl living with her. She says it's her niece or her granddaughter. I don't recall. I believe her niece. And basically they work out a trade that he discovers she has worked out a trade where this young woman will sleep with him in exchange for him giving her grandmother or aunt a free house coat or something like that. He is sort of repulsed by this idea. He fears for this girl. He's like, how often does she have you do this? Or do you want to get out of this? He falls for the girl. He wants to break her out of this indentured prostitution in the home. And from that, complications arise, shall we say, and something very bad happens, and it is a typical noir in that there is, in the form of this girl, sort of a femme fatale, in the form of this guy, a sort of normal guy down on his luck who's trying to get ahead, makes a very bad decision, and everything he does to try to cover up that bad decision just puts him in a worse and worse place. It was unusual to me. Like it's I could see how it would work as like a black and white or as a noir crime film. But the lead in the film, Patrick Dewaere, is very strange. Like, he'll be incredibly goofy sometimes. Sometimes he'll be serious and a straight dramatic actor, and other times he'll be like doing weird dances and it's almost like you cast like prime era Jim Carrey in a noir film and said, Jim, if you feel like it once in a while, just go nuts. It really didn't work for me. It was just too goofy and comedic, in contrast with how serious the film gets at times. There is some humor in the film I thought was very funny, just out of situations and characters playing off each other. But when he goes into the weird manic mode, did not work for me and really kind of hit the brakes kind of hard on the film. It tends to meander, as I said before, much like, to me, a lot of French films can. And there were multiple moments where I was saying out loud while I was watching it, what is this? Why am I seeing this? Why is this going on? So I know it's a highly acclaimed film and some really like it a lot. It didn't quite work for me. I think it's one of those things where the European or the French sensibility or this director's sensibility is less in sync with what I how I felt while watching it, the story could have been conveyed, but still, again, it is a time and a place, and that is no longer with us. Actors, one or more actors in the leads are no longer with us, and it's an interesting watch at any rate. If you like French noir, or if you're interested in learning more about French noir, this set gives us in abundance. Special features are SERIE Noir, The Darkness of the Soul, an archival documentary from 2013 exploring the making of the film with cast and crew interviews. It's 53 minutes long, and it dives in deep. You get a 2002 archival interview with ALAIN Cornneau and Marie Trintignant discussing the making of the film. That's 30 minutes. You get an on-set interviews recorded for Belgian TV in 1981. It's ALAIN Cornneau, Patrick Dewaere, and Myriam are interviewed from the set, which is what it says on the disc menu, but it's not the set. This is the one that's at Cannes. You see like a revolving billboard for Rocky 2 or something in the background. It's I don't believe there was a billboard for Rocky 2 on the set of SERIE Noir. And then you get A Hollyhock in a Cornfield, Jim Thompson on screen. It's a new visual essay by writer and programmer Paul Martinovic exploring the complicated history of Jim Thompson's screen adaptations and how filmmakers have attempted to adapt his distinctive prose to the screen. That's really well done, 30 minutes, and it uses a lot of stills and clips and things like that to really show you all the different Jim Thompson movies you may not be aware are Jim Thompson movies that kind of connect back to this film. You get the original trailer that's 2.5 minutes, and then finally, the third disc in this set is Choice of Arms from 1981. This was a very interesting film with Yves Montand, again, Gérard Depardieu, and Catherine Deneuve. So, nobody you've heard of in the film. Icons of French cinema together in this film. The story goes a little something like this. Two men break out of prison, one young and one old. They go on the run. They get double-crossed on the way to break out of said prison, or on the road. They get in a getaway car. They speed off. They're out in the country to look for a place to hole up. They get double-crossed and ambushed. The older of the two men gets shot, and he takes them to the house of Yves Montand, who is clearly like a former criminal who has reformed himself and done very well for himself. He lives in this rambling horse farm estate with Deneuve as his wife, and he's trying to stay out of it. Don't pull me back in. But he owes it to his friend. Depardieu is just a madman. He is a crazy, feral animal, caged, cornered animal in this film, and he's just doing anything he can to get kicks, get money, connect up with the child he discovered was born of a tryst long ago while he was in jail. And it's this battle of wills between Montand and Depardieu into who will have the upper hand, who will survive, and what will be left of them, let's say. It is really it is a good drama about a man in later years trying to put his past behind him, and those later years in that past shows up at his door. And how long do you try to stay out of it until you kind of have to get involved and take care of some business? Depardieu is just insane. Montand is cool as a cucumber. Deneuve is just lovely and tender in the film. The movie takes its time. It doesn't always go where you think it's going to go or where you hope it's going to go, but it's incredibly well done. This was, I think, maybe the highlight of the set for me. Special features, introduction by Jerome Wybon, which is 3 minutes. A shooting Choice of Arms. It's very cool. It's an archival 1981 French TV behind-the-scenes documentary. It's 22 minutes, and it's shot on video. So to me, shot on video always feels, unless the video quality is horrendous, feels much more immediate. Like film is like, it's not reality. It's set apart. To me, video looks a little bit more, it's more fluid motion. It looks a little closer to reality. So to see video footage on the set of a film from a long time ago, I always think it's kind of cool. It's almost like you're a fly on the wall there. You get on-set interviews with ALAIN Cornneau, Yves Montand, Catherine Deneuve, and Gérard Depardieu. It's 18 minutes. It's shot on video. And this is the one that's actually shot on the set. So that's kind of cool. It's like a news person interviewing them while they were out in public shooting something. Writer and critic Manuela Lazic explores the life and career of Yves Montand. That's 24 minutes. That's very interesting. And then you get the trailer that's 3 minutes. Now, the box set. As always with Radiance, I keep the shrink wrap on because I'm particular. As always with Radiance, you get the little Obi strip. So if you take the shrink wrap off this, that Obi strip will come off. And you get, come in. You get a nice hard case, like hard case crime. You get the disc, so it comes in one box, so you get sort of a replica, artwork for one film, artwork for the second film. Crack it open, you've got the 3 discs, and underneath the slipcase or underneath the discs here that I'm not going to take out right now, is the artwork for the other film, so you can flip it if you like. And then as is dependable with Radiance, you get a book. And you can't tell. I mean, that's a thick book. That is a heavy book. Nice, like, matte finish paper, and it is super classy. It's a lot of stills from the film, so you can see the new transfer. And I'll tell you what we have in here. We have Police Python 357 cast and crew, SERIE Noir cast and crew, Choice of Arms cast and crew, interview with ALAIN CORNEAU from 1995 by David Herring, SERIE Noir, the hard-boiled pulp imprint that changed French culture, 2025 by Andrew Mayle, or Malay. Permafrost Pulp, the Aurobroral Noir of ALAIN CORNEAU, 2025 by Travis Woods. Police Python 357 and the music of Georges Delroux by Charlie Brigden. Problem Policier, The Choice of Arms, and ALAIN CORNEAU's Ballet Noirs, sorry about that, 2025 by Nick Pinkerton. A tribute to Patrick Dewaere, 1986 by ALAIN CORNEAU, and transfer notes and credits. There's a lot of stuff in here, and it's stuff that does not necessarily duplicate what you saw in the audiovisual extras on the disc. So an incredible set if you're a fan of the films, if you're a fan of anybody in the films, or if you're a fan of the director, or you're just curious like me about what are some French hard-boiled crime films from the 70s like. Radiance has you covered. So now on video, on Blu-ray from Radiance Films is, I'm going to get the title correct, Hard-Boiled 3 Pulp Thrillers by ALAIN CORNEAU.